Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney, and today is Friday. Yes, it's Friday, April 23rd. Thank you for choosing to be here for your top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Starting off today, we have news that the Cleveland Browns have officially picked up the fifth-year options for Baker Mayfield, quarterback, and cornerback Denzel Ward. So they'll officially be with the Cleveland Browns through the 2021 and the 2022 seasons. Now, General Manager Andrew Berry said that they both had very strong seasons in 2020. Yes, they definitely did. We all witnessed that. We loved to see it. And Berry said that they view both of them as young players that are continuing to ascend, and they're going to be a big part of what the Browns do going forward. Now, the Browns had until May 3rd to pick up these options, but doing it a little bit earlier. As a reminder, Mayfield was the number 1 overall draft pick in 2018, and Ward was the 4th overall draft pick in 2018. Now, as far as long-term extensions go, this doesn't really tell us anything, and Berry was kind of tight-lipped about it. He said that he would not comment on where things stand with Browns and Mayfield for a long-term contract extension, so something we might see later this summer. Now, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, not a great day in the news today. Cornerback Justin Layne, who is a graduate of Cleveland Benedictine and currently a Pittsburgh Steeler, was arrested in Lake County. That was early this morning in Willoughby Hills. That was for speeding and also having a weapon without a permit. There was an officer, according to police, who was at a traffic stop and then saw a vehicle, clocked them at 89 miles per hour in a 60 mile per hour zone on 90 East. Turned out to be someone who identified themselves as Justin Layne and as the player for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, it turned out, according to police, that he was driving on a suspended license and there was an outstanding warrant for his arrest for failure to appear on a traffic violation in another city. So Layne was taken into custody. And then police said they searched his vehicle on a probable cause search because they saw loose marijuana in the vehicle, according to the officers, and they could smell marijuana, according to the officers. And they found a loaded pistol in the center console. Layne doesn't have a concealed carry permit in the state of Ohio. So now he's been charged with improper handling of a firearm in a motor vehicle, which is a 4th-degree felony. He was also cited for those traffic violations, and he had arraignment this morning. Bond was set at $5,000 of his own recognizance, and his next court appearance is scheduled for April 29th. Next up, okay, y'all might be wondering why we're talking about this story, but I don't pick these stories. I mean, I do in a certain sense, but in another sense, these are the stories that people are clicking on from WKYC.com, and here's one that you're all clicking on. Doesn't really have a lot to do with Northeast Ohio, but Jersey Shore star Ronnie Ortiz-Magro has been arrested on a domestic violence allegation. This was in the Playa del Rey area. That's on the west side of Los Angeles. That happened Thursday. Now, he was previously arrested on suspicion of domestic violence in 2019, and he pleaded no contest to domestic battery and resisting arrest in connection with that. And he's on probation right now for that case. Now, his lawyer said they'd just heard of this new arrest, so they weren't able to comment at the time. Now, in case you're wondering, the benefit of a no contest plea, what happens when you plead no contest is you're admitting the facts, but you're not admitting your guilt. So what this does, it allows you to avoid a trial, but it prevents the plea from being used against you later in any civil or criminal proceeding. So that no contest plea can't be used against him, but the fact that he is on probation is definitely a factor here. And that's a story that y'all are clicking on today in Northeast Ohio. Okay, now let's take a look at the latest COVID-19 numbers. These come from Johns Hopkins University, these global and these national numbers. Globally, the total number of COVID-19 cases is now at 144,979,282. The total number of deaths is now at 3,076,484. In the U.S., almost 32 million cases now. That number, 31,950,831. The total number of deaths over 570,000, now at 570,611. Now, what we are seeing is our percentages of the global cases continue to creep down ever so slightly, both down 1/10 of a percentage point today. We now have 22% of the global cases here in the U.S. and 18.5% of the global deaths here in the U.S. Now let's take a look at the Ohio numbers. These numbers come from the Ohio Department of Health. We've seen 1,788 new cases of COVID-19 in the last day. That's up from yesterday. We do have new data on the reported deaths from the Ohio Department of Health. We've seen 89 more reported deaths since Tuesday when we last got an update. So that number is now at 19,122 reported COVID deaths here in Ohio. We've seen 114 new hospitalizations in the last day, and right now there are 1,250 people in the hospital being treated for COVID-19 in Ohio. Those hospitalizations, the current number of people in the hospital, up slightly. Out of those people, 366 are being treated in the ICU. That's down from yesterday, and we've seen 10 new ICU admissions in the last day. That's also down from yesterday. Let's take a look at the vaccination picture. Almost 29% of Ohioans are now fully vaccinated. That's close to 3.4 million people and almost 83,000 more people in the last day. Close to 39% of Ohioans have started the vaccination process. That's more than 4.5 million people and close to 32,000 just getting started with that in the last day. Now, in the effort to get vaccinations to people, the state is trying different things. Well, now Metro Health is partnering with 2 Cleveland restaurants to vaccinate people who work in the food industry. Those 2 restaurants are Fahrenheit Cleveland and the Flying Fig. So anyone who's age 16 or older can take advantage of these 2 free vaccine clinics. Now, in case you've been paying attention to who can get which vaccine, that means this is the Pfizer vaccine because that's approved for ages 16 and up. So on Monday, April 26th at Fahrenheit Cleveland, between the hours of 12 and 4 p.m., people who work in the food service industry, ages 16 and up, can go there to get the first dose of a Pfizer vaccine or a second dose if you need a second dose. But you can go there to get a Pfizer vaccine COVID-19 shot. And that's at Professor Avenue in Cleveland. And on Monday, May 3rd, the Flying Fig will do the same thing from 12 to 4 p.m. That's on Market Avenue. 100 slots will be available at both places. No appointment is required. You just walk in. You got to be 16 and up. Now, let's turn our attention towards next week, the NFL draft. We know that the Cleveland Browns have the number 26 pick in the NFL draft. Now, that's going to be something that's very different for us. We are used to going, 1-15, 0-16. We're not exactly used to going 0-16, but that did happen. We're used to performing not as great as we did this last season, right? So that usually translates into a pretty high pick in the NFL draft. We just talked about in 2018, we had the number 1 and the number 4 pick in round 1. So this year we've got number 26, and here's what general manager Andrew Berry has to say about it. He says he likes where the Browns are picking, and it's plenty of opportunity to add young players that can grow with the Browns over the next several years. Now, when asked today during his press conference if he thought it was possible the Browns might do maybe some wheeling and dealing here and there, he said, basically, maybe. This position in the draft, according to Berry, allows them to be very flexible, whether that's moving up, down, or sitting and picking. And largely, it will be dictated on how the board falls ahead of the Browns, but he thinks that the Browns have a lot of flexibility. Now, he did say this, talking about what will happen in the first round. Berry said, I'm going to guess that a quiet Thursday night would not be popular amongst this audience, but I'm comfortable if we pick, I'm comfortable if we move out, I'm comfortable if we move up, the general manager said. Now, that would be an interesting prospect there if the Browns were to actually move up in round 1 of the draft. It is going to be much later in the evening, as we said, because we're used to having one of those very early picks. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Either way, Berry says he's very happy that the draft will be here in Cleveland and to showcase Cleveland. He says he thinks what he's most excited about is for the nation to see the passion of the region, and honestly, for them to see what we all appreciate so much about the city and why we love Cleveland so much. He says, I'm excited for the Browns fans to be very loud and visible next Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and for the nation to see our beautiful city. It really is a beautiful city. And at least on Thursday, it looks like we're going to have some pretty solid weather to kick off the NFL draft here in Cleveland. Absolutely wild that the NFL draft is going to be here in Cleveland. Can you believe it? I can hardly believe it. But we do have your Ultimate Draft headquarters, by the way, at WKYC.com. Just go to WKYC.com/draft. You'll see everything you need to know there about the draft. We're going to have live streaming programming for the first night of the draft to kick things off. That's going to be a lot of fun. What you need to know about if there is any remaining access to those NFL draft experiences, that one pass, which is what you need to download, the app if you're going to be going, where the concerts will be, and all that good stuff, and up-to-the-minute updates, of course, as the picks are coming down. Okay. Oh, and one more thing. On Saturday, tomorrow, I am dropping a podcast with an early draft preview with our very own 3 News' main sports anchor, our sports director, and voice of the Browns himself, Jim Donovan. So that's dropping tomorrow. You can find that wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for 3 Things to Know with Stephanie Haney. You can also just go to WKYC.com/3thingsto know. Okay, that's it for your 3 News Now update today for Friday, April 23rd. I'll see you next up on What's New with your trending stories in the Clicking in Cleveland segment. And I'll see you back here on Monday for more 3 News Now. Between now and then, everyone, enjoy your weekend, stay safe, and be well. I'm Stephanie Haney.